show, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Hey, folks, this is Dr. William Clark here. Glad to be with you guys for another episode. And I'm super excited to kind of chat with you about this important topic. And we got a lot to talk about. So I want to be able to share with you these concepts and ideas that we are going to be sharing today. We're going to be talking about how to make fundraising simple. Why are we talking about this very topic? Well, we're doing so because a lot of you don't know how to raise money for your worthy cause. And because of that, you're struggling to make ends meet for your organization. And you just don't know how to make that happen. You don't know how to move the needle forward, and it's causing a whole lot of stress within your organization. My goal today is to help you get out of that stressful mode and stressful position, and help you think about the simple ways you can begin to raise money for your worthy cause right now today. So we got a number of folks into the room. Glad to have you guys with us, and we're going to invite you guys to come up to the stage. If you're here on Clubhouse, come on, raise your hand, come onto the stage, get a better listening quality, and you'll be able to answer get your question answered for your nonprofit. If you're on Facebook and you're here live with us, go ahead and leave your comment here in the chat, and we'll be glad to answer that. If you're listening to this after in the replay, leave your comment wherever you're listening to this, and we'll be glad to leave a comment. We'll get back to you shortly after that. So let's kind of have this conversation, y'all. We want to simplify fundraising for our nonprofits. Why is that? Because you have a worthy cause and you have a mission and purpose you're trying to fulfill. And at the end of the day, you're trying to figure out how to make this thing move, how to make this thing move forward to another phase, another level. And you know that you can't do that without money. Money is essential to making this happen. And without money, all the things that you have on your to-do list will not happen, such as saving the kids, helping single mothers, helping single fathers, helping returning citizens, helping people who are just completely down in their luck and are turning to your organizations or organizations like yours for solutions for their problem. And so without the resources, how do you make that happen? How do you move things forward if your organization is just unable to raise the money it needs to pay for staff, pay for overhead, pay for supplies, etc.? We need our nonprofit organizations to move to another phase of generating revenue so that we can support the folks within our community that really need what we have to offer. And for those of you who are new to fundraising and trying to figure this thing out, it can get complicated. Don't get it twisted. It can get complicated. It is a thing that you got to wrestle with and navigate through. But at the end of the day, it is important for you to understand how to fundraise for your worthy cause and how to generate revenue, how to generate income for your organization. I want to teach you 3 things today to help you simplify fundraising for your nonprofit organization. The first thing that I want to share with you about simplifying your fundraising process is to understand how much you want to raise. What is that specific dollar amount that you want to raise for your nonprofit organization? Now, this is the end all and be all of fundraising, because if you don't know how much you need to raise, you are going to lose out on many opportunities. Well, what are we talking about? Well, at the end of the day, funders are looking to support organizations like yours, right? And you have what they need, you have what they want, and that's a program, you have a solution, you have a strategy, you have a product that will serve the community. The next question among many questions funders are going to ask is, how much will it cost? Because they need to know what the potential investment is going to be. Now, when funders ask this question, particularly if you're talking to mature, seasoned funders, they're going to be asking this question because they have been here, they have done that, they have gotten a t-shirt and the headband. And many newbies don't realize that funders are a part of the work that you're doing. Many of them have been doing the work for years. Many of them have funded this work for years. Many of them may have worked in this particular work for years and may have been on the front lines for years, and they have transitioned to a new role and a new responsibility. So when you think about this, with funders and them asking how much does it cost to run your program, they're asking a very serious question, because there are costs associated with running your program. And if you give them a wrong number or a number that shows that you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose opportunity. Here's a great example. I see this all the time on social media where people say, all I need is a couple $1,000s to do my program. All I need is $5,000 to do this youth program or this mother's program or this program for returning citizens or this program for housing. I just need $5,000, Dr. Clark. And the truth is, for people that have done this for a while, for people that have been in this business for a while, they can tell you, nope, you don't need $5,000. You need way more than that. You need to 10x, 20x that number in order to even run a half decent program. So you're going to need to know how much you need to raise. And how do you find that out? Put together a budget. Put together a budget that articulates what you're looking to accomplish and how much it's going to cost for every line item within your organization. We're talking about staff. We're talking about rent. We're talking about program supplies. We're talking about transportation. We're talking about technology. We're talking about consultants. We're talking about every nitty gritty. If you're doing housing, we're talking about housing rent. We're talking about mortgages. We're talking about leases. We're talking about linens. We're talking about food supply. If you're doing reentry, how are you going to make all those things happen? You need 24-hour staff if you're doing reentry services, particularly if it includes a housing component. Your local or state Department of Corrections is going to require it of you. So if you don't know the full cost of your program, you're going to be losing out. For those of you that have a youth program, what's the total cost of running a quote youth mentoring program? To have staff at the school site, before school, during school, after school, what's going to be the cost? This is huge for you. What's going to be the cost to have things covered? And when we talk about staff, I'm talking about you because you matter. You're the executive director. I'm talking about program staff. I'm talking about program management staff. I'm talking about accountants, HR, IT, etc. And look, don't get overwhelmed with this, because if you're new to this space and you just launched your nonprofit organization, you're not going to have a budget for all these things. But it's really important for you to understand how much you're going to need, so that as you're putting together your funding plan, as you're putting together your strategy, you can then turn to your funders and say, this is how much it's going to cost. Man, so for those of you on stage here, Clubhouse, go ahead and share this room. Hit the re-share button at the bottom so that folks here in the hallway can see us here having this conversation. I'm going to bring you guys off mute in a moment. For those on Facebook, go ahead and share this conversation and comment so that others can see this conversation that's happening. The first thing you need to do to simplify fundraising, you got to know how much you need to raise. Secondly, the second thing you got to do to raise money to make it super simple for your organization is to understand who has your money. Who has your money? Who has your money? Now, what do we mean by this? Why does this matter? Well, when we say who has your money, we're talking about specific funders that support this particular work that you're doing. Who has your money? Who supports your work? Who funds the work that you do? Who's engaged in the work that you are engaged in? This matters a lot, because some of you may have been pursuing funders that don't care at all about the work that you do. They are not invested in the work that you do. They don't invest in your topic area. And many of you who have been frustrated with the fundraising process may be frustrated because you're not looking at the specific funding projects that the funder supports, and you're submitting a funding application anyway. So the question that we have to answer ourselves is, who has the money that will support our work? We're talking about institutions. We're talking about foundations. We're talking about sponsors. We're talking about individuals. We're talking about board members. We're talking about everybody in between. Who supports this particular work? And if you don't have that down pat, if you're not sure who supports your work, then you're going to be chasing a whole lot of funders. And what we teach our clients to do or not to do is we teach them how to raise money, get this, without chasing funders. Because many of you are chasing funders and doing all types of antics. You're trying to use all types of tactics. You're listening to all types of podcasts and videos, trying to piece together a strategy to find funders. And the reality is, you're not going to find the funder that you're looking for, because you may be looking at the wrong funder. So if step one is all about understanding how much to raise, then step two is all about finding who has your money. So you're going to have to make a list of funders and research them and determine if they support the work that you do. Are the funders that you're researching supporting, funding the work that you do? And how do you know this? One, they'll say it on their website. Number two, one of the strategies that many people ignore, many people don't like to look at their competition. Look at the competition. Look at the big players. in your community who are doing similar work that you're doing and do the research to find out who's funding them. Then you'll find out who the true funders are. And you don't want to look at one competitor, you want to look at all of them. And you start to see a pattern that these funders show up on a regular basis when it comes to this particular work. When it comes to the work I'm doing, these funders show up. And then there are these funders who are funding projects on a generic basis where they are open-minded. But if you're going to be specific and targeted about who you're working with and funders that are going to really add value, you need to find out who has your money. I want to quickly reset the room before we share this third tidbit. While we're taking a quick break to reset the room, going to encourage you to share this room. I appreciate those that have shared already here in Clubhouse and on Facebook. Go ahead and share this. Get your questions ready. I want to answer your questions. If you're here on Clubhouse or on Facebook, I want you to ask your questions. Get those questions ready around fundraising. Let's quickly reset the room, and then we'll be right back after this. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. William Clark, your host of the Nonprofit Funding Tips Club, and I'm glad to have you in the house with us today. And I'm glad to continue our conversations. In this club, we talk about nonprofit fundraising, and our goal is to simplify fundraising strategies for nonprofit organizations without chasing funders. And I'm super excited to have that conversation with you today. As you guys enter into the room and as you stay longer and engage in the content, a couple of housekeeping rules. Number one, if you want to have a conversation with me while the teaching is going on, go ahead and tap my profile and then tap the paper airplane to send me a message through the back channel here in Clubhouse. If you prefer to chat with me via Instagram, tap my profile again, scroll to the bottom, tap on my Instagram, a link there, and send me a direct message there, and I'll be glad to communicate with you through either mechanism. If you have a question while the teaching is going on, please raise your hand and let me know that you want to come to the stage, ask a question, and or engage in a conversation about your nonprofit and your fundraising goals. Lastly, if you want to schedule a free consultation with me, those consultations are free. All you got to do is go to DrWilliamPClark.com. Again, it's DrWilliamPClark.com. Click on schedule a free consultation, select a date, a time, and fill out the survey, and we will meet on the date and time that you select. I'm super excited to have you guys in the room, super excited to continue our conversation around nonprofit fundraising and everything involved with that. With that being said, let's get back to our teaching. All right, folks, welcome back. So we're talking about how to make fundraising simple. Step number one, you need to know how much you need to raise. Step number two, you need to figure out who has your money. And then step number three, there's no surprise here. Somebody has to go get the money. So who's going to be, right? Who is it going to be? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your board member? Is it going to be your fundraising consultant, your grant writer, whoever it is? Somebody needs to go get the money. Can I just share with you that part of the challenges some of you may be having is that you have all this written down, all these strategies completed, you have all this stuff done, but nobody has taken the leap of faith and the dramatic step of actually asking for the money and pursuing the money. You have to go ask for it. So somebody has to be designated within your organization to make the ask. Now, I hear from a lot of clients of mine that they feel the burden and the pressure of raising the money by themselves, and they're raising the money by themselves without the support of their board. Well, that's a problem because this is a team sport. Fundraising is not a single person sport. This is a team sport. Perhaps it's led by the executive director, but you have to have your board involved when it comes to raising money. You may have to hire a consultant or have a development director on staff to help you raise money. You're going to have relationships in place to help you raise money. You're going to have an individual donor campaign, an individual donor portfolio to help you raise money. You're going to have friends that trust you, that like you, that depend upon you to help you raise money. At the end of the day, this is a team sport. I want to remind you of this fact, because without the team involving themselves in the fundraising process, fundraising will become complicated and remain complicated. And I think that there's an easier way to do this. Well, what are the easier ways to do this? Number one, know how much a program costs. Know how much a program costs. Number two, find out who has your money. Number three, somebody has to go get it. So designate that person to come get the money. So with that being said, let's go ahead and transition over to Clubhouse where we can get some live questions, Q&A going. Betty, welcome to the stage. What are your reflections?
Hi, Dr. Clark. Thank you for letting me come to the stage. I think that I'm really taking it in because we are just about to get into fundraising, and we're going to have a board meeting on Friday. So all these questions are going to be asked of the board members and myself. And you're right, I can't do it all. I have to have a team behind me to do it, or with me to do it. So I really appreciate you having this, and also having these questions, because I will be answering and utilizing them with the board.
Absolutely. Please do so. Come into that board meeting with a plan, with a strategy, with clarity. And I think, Betty, there are going to be a lot of folks, particularly if they're new to this stuff when it comes to being a board member. A lot of folks don't understand how this works, right? And so you're going to have to come with quite a bit of answers. But I think you can do it. Of course, if you need to chat, it might be too late to get on the calendar this week ahead of your board meeting, but get on my calendar, guys. And for those of you who are listening and trying to figure out how to get on my calendar, go to DrWilliamPClark.com and click on schedule free consultation, DrWilliamPClark.com, because there are strategies that help you get to these outcomes that you're looking for. Betty, do you have a question for us or anything we can help you with ahead of your board meeting?
Not that I can think of right now. I have been putting some things together for the board to do, because I found that it's best to give them as much detail as possible so that they could be they can be successful. So that's what I'm doing right now. But right now I'm just listening. And thank you.
Absolutely, Betty. I wish you much success at that board meeting. And when we come live again after the board meeting, would you please come back and tell us how it went?
I definitely will.
Awesome, Betty. Thank you so much. Kanisha, what's up? Welcome to the stage. What's your reflection or question?
So I am assuming that a lot of people are a lot more farther than I am in this process. But I'm still kind of in that brainstorming area, to where I'm kind of like, okay, so how do I even begin in an instance? And I'm listening, and it's true. You know, you do need a team behind you. So I guess my biggest question is like, and I listened to something else I want to kind of bring up is a previous room of yours where you were talking about not focusing on the competition. And it's like, how do you build those connections with people to establish that team, you know, without so much as focusing on, okay, so is somebody gonna, you know, take some of my ideas of what I'm coming up with, or, you know, how do you establish those relationships with people in order to bring that team behind you? If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I get it. And I think that's a fear a lot of people have. They are concerned about sharing ideas with people who may end up taking their ideas. And I think it creates this paralysis when it comes to developing your organization, raising money, expanding capacity, etc. So I want to share this secret with you, Kanisha. And the secret is this, that likely some of the ideas you came up with already exist in the marketplace. Okay, you got to make that assumption. I think I know the room you were talking about. We were talking about strategy development, moving to a blue ocean space where you don't have competition. But think about this. It is likely that much of what you've developed and thought about already exists in the marketplace and is likely being operated by a mature operator. This is an organization that's been around for a long time, who already has standing, who already has funding, who already has resources. So if that is the case, then I need you to figure out how to move past that fear, right? And trust that you're going to make the connections without people taking something. Now, if people do take something, and I do want to speak to that before we move forward, just know that just because people copy it, it doesn't make it authentic, and it doesn't mean it's going to work. Okay? Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes,
yeah.
Thank you.
So when it comes to building a network, I'm going to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and start building your board. How do you do that? Start with your inner circle. That is the easiest way to begin. I want to give you a couple of strategies on how to start with your inner circle. Now I want to give you a couple of strategies on how to identify the right board member. board members rather. So with your inner circle, begin to reach out to folks. You want to make sure your messaging is tight, where you're talking about your organization in a tight way. Who are you guys? What are you trying to accomplish? What have you accomplished? And what do you plan to accomplish? Okay. Those are the things that matter. And as you begin to reach out to your network, text them, email them, and LinkedIn them, if that's even a term or phrase, but you know what I mean. Go on LinkedIn, send them a message, and let them know that you're launching this nonprofit and you're looking for board members. Would they like to serve, and do they have any recommendations? What you're looking for, of course, you're looking for yeses, but you're looking for people to authentically say yes. And you're also looking for them to say no, but to refer you to somebody who may get you closer to a yes. Now, when people start to say yes and you begin to get flooded with interest, it's going to be your job now to do a board interview, to interview people to see if they are fit for the board. There are 3 characteristics I recommend people think about when it comes to evaluating potential board members. Number 1, they have to be decision makers elsewhere or within another organization. Why does that matter? As you begin to identify your needs and you begin to put together your framework for a budget, and you start to think about fundraising and program costs, program resources, the first persons you're going to turn to will be your board. And they have to be people who are capable and able to get access to resources. And in all likelihood, in most cases, the people who can get you the resources you need and the money you need are decision makers within other organizations. All right. The second characteristic that you want to think about for a successful, high quality board member is somebody who's willing to provide oversight to your organization. A lot of organizations, nonprofits, don't realize that the board of directors, they are your boss, right? So they have to be willing to serve as your boss. And it's not like a stringent relationship. It's not designed to be a strenuous relationship, but it's designed to say that the organization, the nonprofit, is accountable to someone or group of a body of people who are going to look out for the best interests of the organization. So that's required by the IRS. Is also best practice for a successful organization. The last characteristic of a successful board member, and then we'll turn it back over to you, Kenesha, is a board member who's willing, capable to share their treasure, and if not, to get treasure. That means they're willing to give money and or get money. You want to have a fundraising board. This is essential to being a successful nonprofit organization. Does that help you at all?
Yes, that was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Awesome sauce. For those in the room, feel free to come up to the stage. We'll gladly invite you up. If you're looking to get on my calendar and schedule a free consultation, click on the link above my head, and there will be a button on my website for free consultations. All you got to do is just click that, select a date, time, and we'll be glad to speak with you. For those who are listening in the replay, simply go to DrWilliamPClark.com. Again, it's DrWilliamPClark.com, and then you'll be able to see that button for the free consultation. There was another person on stage, but she seems to be on the phone. But let me circle back really quick, just to give her a chance to get back. Let me circle back really quick, guys, about this idea of how to make fundraising simple. It comes down to those three strategies we laid out. At the end of the day, if you're not deploying those three strategies, you're making it complicated. You're making fundraising harder than it needs to be. And what I am willing to believe is that for everybody on this stage, everybody in this room, listening and watching, that you have a mission and a purpose that needs money. And because of that mission and purpose, you are likely you're already occupied mentally trying to get your nonprofit off the ground and to put yourself in position to serve the community that you're targeting. If your commitment is to this community, if your commitment is to this nonprofit, if your commitment is to making this nonprofit successful, then everything else you do has to be as non-complicated as possible, because it's likely that most of you don't think about fundraising enough. And if you do, you just don't know how to do it, which is why we created the Nonprofit Fundraising Academy, where you can get into one-on-one coaching or our masterclass or our library and learn how to fundraise. In some cases, people hire us to be their support system. We help them raise money. We help them write grants. We help them connect to their funders. We help them develop strategies. But if that's not your wheelhouse, then if you start to think about fundraising in any way, it's going to require you to develop and connect with strategies that are simple. Just to recap really quick in the room. The strategies to make nonprofit simple. Number one, You have to know how much your program costs to you, rather. What is the cost of your program? What is the total amount of money you need to raise to make this happen? How much does your program cost? Secondly, identify the group that has the money that you need. Most people think it is the funder, just the foundation. Some people think it's the Walmarts, it's the Targets, it's the big box retail stores, and that's a part of it, but they're not the only ones that have the money you're looking for. There are others that are a part of the network of fundraising that are willing, ready, and able to help you raise money. So you got to identify who has the money: sponsors, individual donors, businesses, foundations, families, churches, and other groups who are just looking for you and who are looking for what you have to offer. They have your money. And then the last strategy to make fundraising simple, then we'll go to Raquel, is you have to go get it. So who from our team is going to go get that money? You, the executive director, members of the board, your fundraising consultant, your network, etc., who has the money. It is so important to establish that. Let's pause for a moment and welcome Raquel to the stage. Raquel, how are you? What's your reflection or question?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me up here. I'd like to ask, far as fundraising, do you think what I've come up with is innovative? And I think I heard you earlier, and I took some notes regarding the shifts. Correct, a shift in what's already out here, what's already done, and a shift in creating, and I believe in changing the mindset. And we're thinking, because I'm working in recidivism and violence prevention in Chicago. And so what we face here are resources and organizations and people. Everyone wants to help, or there's a lack of care, right? But these services are available, but they're not reaching. They're not really reaching who it needs to reach to make an impact. So, well, that's just a little bit about the mission and what we're doing. But as far as raising funds, I believe that bringing awareness to the mission and to the cause, to individuals to grab their attention. Correct? Because I know earlier you did say that we have to reach their hearts, we have to reach their minds. Right? I'm just gonna mute myself.
So help me out really quick. What's the question you want me to address?
I'd like to ask you for just some advice on just fundraising for a particular cause.
Yeah, so when it comes down to fundraising, it goes back to some of the principles we shared in this room, right? At the end of the day, what it sounds like is that you want to address a specific issue in Chicago, and you don't see other larger nonprofits doing anything. And I can't confirm or deny that, right? I don't know that to be true, but I do know that particularly within cities that have a great need, there are people who are on the ground who are knee deep in the community, who are seeing the need play itself out, and you are struggling to figure out, well, what's this big nonprofit doing and what's that one doing? And they're not doing enough, so I needed to launch my own. We need more nonprofits. Let me say this. We need more nonprofits, but you have to be savvy when it comes to raising money. I want to share something with you, Raquel, and this is for you and for others who have the same or have similar philosophies or ways of thinking when it comes to not feeling supported by the bigger nonprofits, and you believe that there is a solution out there that you can provide. Part of the thinking that I want to encourage you to think about when it comes to raising money is to view your nonprofit as a boutique or a niche organization. All right. You want to view your nonprofit as a boutique or niche organization. Another way of saying that is you want to view yourself as a mom and pop operation. For those of you that grew up in the community, we know that there are big box markets that we go to get our groceries. And then there are the bodegas, the corner stores that exist within our communities as well, where we can get some of our food items and other essential items as we need them. Those are two different markets. Those are two different businesses. Those are two different business models. They serve two different clienteles. They do two different things, and they are not trying to compete with each other, but they each add value in a unique way. One could argue that the big box market doesn't know how to reach people in the community, and you might have an argument there. But instead of making that argument and pointing out that that market isn't coming into the community, there is something you could think about, and that is that particular community store, corner store, bodega does have some of the things you need. And so if we had more of those bodegas that are able and capable of providing more essential items, and they're easily located within our community, will we have many of our needs met? And this is not to start a fight or an argument with people who feel that there are food deserts in our community. That's a whole nother conversation. But the point I want you to think about is, how do I become a niche boutique offering to my community, similar to a bodega? I'm not trying to be everything to everybody. I'm just trying to provide a specific need, right? So this is an idea a lot of nonprofits don't think about, the boutique, the niche idea. In doing so, in developing this idea, Raquel, you end up putting yourself in position to hear the specific needs of the community, document those specific needs of the community, and create traction around the issue around recidivism, which I think you mentioned, which is tied to returning citizens, justice system involvement, justice involvement for youth, justice involvement for parents, justice involvement for Black males, etc. Right? That becomes a hot topic issue, and there are things going on likely around Chicago, greater Chicagoland, that are addressing those things. But you want to offer something that's uniquely yours. Now, one of the ways you can fundraise effectively, Raquel, is to focus on one thing to do, that you can provide that is uniquely conditioned, designed for your community. Just one thing. I know you probably got a million ideas, and they're probably awesome ideas, but I'm going to encourage you to think about just one thing that you can provide, and do that thing and do it well. From there, I want you to start to replay the items we talked about in this room, making fundraising simple. All for that one thing. How much does it cost to do that one thing and to do it well all year long? Number two, who pays for stuff like this? Number three, let's go get that money. Does that help you, Raquel?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. It kind of ties into my idea surrounding and being able to partner with, not just partner with, but I like to support the existing nonprofits or organizations that we do have. But that one thing I want to be that one thing which would be a go-to, what we would support, like a back-end support for those organizations or the returning citizens that may have 30 or 60, 90 days in order to transition into a different home, or are missing resources, or may not know how to maneuver in society.
Yeah, absolutely. I encourage you to stay hungry. I encourage you to find that one thing, because there are needs out there. And I think you can provide that particular need. Let me reset the room really quickly. For those of you in the room with me on Facebook and on Clubhouse, welcome to the Nonprofit Funding Tips Room. Welcome to the Dr. William Clark podcast. We talk about everything nonprofit, particularly around fundraising. And so I'm glad to have you in the house. If you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, come to the stage if you're on Clubhouse. If you're on Facebook, leave a comment in the chat. I'm looking at it right now, and I will answer those questions. If you want to get on my calendar and talk nonprofit stuff, talk fundraising stuff, all you got to do is, if you're in Clubhouse, click the button at the top of my head, or just go to DrWilliamPClark.com. Again, that's DrWilliamPClark.com. The consultations are free. If you want to take it to the next level and join my fundraising masterclass and learn how to raise money, go to DrWilliamPClark.com, submit your application, and join our next cohort. We also offer other services to folks that may need a little bit more support around one-on-one coaching. Again, y'all know where to go. DrWilliamPClark.com to get access to all those resources. Sierra, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much for having me on the stage and for the information provided today. I did have a question. We're getting ready to start planning for our 5K in April. And I just wanted to know, going forward with planning, do you recommend having a separate planning committee other than your existing board when you're getting ready to do specific fundraisers?
Great question. Yes, that will help you out because in practice, when you have a board of any size, they are busy with their regular job, they're busy with life, and then they're volunteering to be a part of your board. One of the committees you want to have is a fundraising committee whose job is to focus on raising funds. It's their job to be in cohort with you so that you guys can develop these strategies. They then will go back to the board, get motions approved, get everybody to buy into the strategy you all work out. They will also hold their board members accountable in a way that you cannot, right? That is something most people don't talk about. So that committee is very effective, and they can also be the open door to resources that you're looking to find. So rewind a little bit and remember what we talked about, the high value board members. Hopefully you have some of them on your board, Sierra. They can point you to where the money is. They can open up doors and make this happen and make that 5K a massive, smashing success.
Thank you for that information. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
In reference to the committee aspect, like what is a good foundation or a good list of expectations to expect and set for them?
And this is the fundraising committee?
Yes.
Yeah, so you want to set meeting schedule so that you guys are meeting on a regular basis, particularly since this event's coming up. You're going to want to meet more frequently than usual. You want to make sure that they are committed to developing this plan with you. You want to make sure that there's a due date for the plan so that you guys can get it done by a certain date and time. And lastly, and certainly not least, they are responsible for helping you raise money. You might want to assign fundraising goals to each committee member and every board member. That's going to be critical. And this should be the case anyway. You should be raising money from every board member all year long anyway, but you want to be more specific with this particular event. How much do you need from every committee member? How much do you need from every board member? And then who's going to fill in the gap from our community of funders?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Clark.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming to the stage. Vanessa, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Hi, everybody. This is actually my first time in your space, so I'm kind of just taking everything in. I've been working in the nonprofit sector, specifically in fundraising for the past 10 years. So kind of just listening to ideas and suggestions and figuring it out and seeing if there's any new information that I don't have. So thank you for creating this space. Very nice to speak to all of you guys and hear everything that's going on. And if there's anything that I can answer to, of course, I'll feel free to add some input if it's something that I do know any information on.
Vanessa, thank you so much for being here on the stage. St. Anne, how are you? St. Anne, are you there?
I'm sorry, Dr. Clark. Yes, I'm there.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good.
I don't have anything to say. You know, I'm always listening, so I'm just listening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's kind of recap for a minute. Got a quick question here on Facebook. Bill, saw your comment here. The link is live to get into the academy. You should be able to get into the academy and see everything that's available for the particular masterclass that we're talking about. For those that are curious about the masterclass, it's an 8-week class. I will be your coach where we talk about fundraising all 8 weeks. I'm going to help you understand the psychology of fundraising, how to get your mind wrapped around it. My goal is to help you simplify your approach to raising money without chasing funders. That is my hope and my goal for you. If you want to be a part of that 8-week program, what are we doing? I got to look at all my notes so we give away so much. Obviously, 8 weeks with me, you're going to get the templates to do your fundraising plan, your strategic plan, your master grant application, and your master budget. I'm going to help you develop those things. We're going to be covering a bunch of topics. So if you want to get be a part of that, go to the website, DrWilliamPClark.com. Look at the information there, and it will run down everything that we're doing. It's so much I can't even run it down. But yeah, be a part of that. Here it is, session 1. what you should know about before fundraising. Session 2, why strategy matters to fundraising. Session 3, how to position your nonprofit for maximum performance. Session 4, how to leverage relationships to generate revenue. That's a biggie. Session 5, how to develop your strategic plan. Session 6, your fundraising plan. Session 7, your master grant application. Session 8, your program budget. All the things we talked about today, we're going to cover that in the master class. So I think that's going to be a value add to you on your journey. One more round on the stage. Any open questions, any unanswered questions here on the stage? One more time. Feel free to come off mute if you have a question that needs to be answered.
So, Dr. Clark, for the masterclass, what time are you talking about?
We go live Tuesdays at 12 p.m. and we also offer a replay. We also do our live Q&A as well on Tuesday evenings. And so if hopefully that fits your schedule, if not, the replay will be a great option for you.
So it's every Tuesdays or just
every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
12 o'clock to what time?
12 to 1. We have received requests to open up another day, so we are thinking about that. But that, as of right now, is Tuesdays at 12.
Okay, just for 1 hour.
1 hour.
Oh, I can do that every Tuesdays, and that's for 8 weeks.
8 weeks, and then if you join the live Q&A, again, 1 hour. Quite frankly, this is a part of the Q&A. So this is not the planned session, but this is what it's going to be like, where we're just teaching, talking, exchanging ideas, and I'm answering specific questions about your idea. So if you enjoyed this Q&A, then you're really going to enjoy the Q&A that's involved with the masterclass.
Okay, with the masterclass, is that with a group or individual?
It is with group. With a group.
Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. I think you're going to love it, St. Anne. So I can't wait to see you in that particular masterclass. Hey,
yeah, me too.
Hey, Raquel, you got a question?
What would you say, what would be 3 main components or essentials needed for fundraising? Let's just say I needed to raise 100K by April.
Well, that's going to be a little hard. However, I do think there are 3 things that do matter, all right, to raising serious money. 100K is what we call serious money. All right. So to raise that amount of money, you're going to need to have a strategy in place. These are the 3 secrets to raising money. And I teach this in the masterclass. You're going to need a strategy to raise money. Secondly, you're going to need performance. Okay. This one tends to shock people because performance is the thing that unlocks the door for new money and old money. And if you don't have performance in place, if you're not able to make that thing happen by way of proving that you have results, that door is going to be closed to you. So strategy, performance, and the fastest way to raise money. Do you know the answer to that, Raquel?
No, go ahead. Tell me, please.
I got a kick out of that. The fastest way to raise money is through relationships. It does matter who you know.
Absolutely.
It does matter whose phone number you have. It does matter who you're able to text, who you're able to send a DM to. All that stuff really does matter. So those are the 3 secrets to raising serious money. Appreciate that question.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Other questions? Round robin. Feel free to come off mute. All right. So seeing none, guys, a couple of housekeeping before we wrap today. I want to appreciate you all for being with us and hanging out with us today. Again, keep fundraising simple, guys. It is not complicated, but it does come with its own challenges. And I'm not trying to make it seem like it's super easy, but I do see that a lot of people make it overly complicated. And I want you to leave this session today knowing that you can simplify fundraising. How do we do that? Know how much you're trying to raise, understand your budget. Number 2, figure out who has your money. Number 3, go get the money. Who from our team is going to get that money? With that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. And here we're going to play the outro and then we're going to close the room. All right, everybody, this is Dr. William Clark again. Thanks for hanging out with us with this during this particular podcast. And I hope that you got some value out of this particular podcast. Now, I want to make sure that we also close this podcast with some additional value. Now, we've created the Nonprofit Fundraising Masterclass. This particular masterclass was designed by nonprofit leaders for nonprofit leaders to help you simplify your fundraising approaches without chasing funders. Now, if this is something that you want to engage in and utilize for your nonprofit organization, if you have been thinking about how to fundraise for your organization, you just don't know how to do it, if you're transitioning from one phase of fundraising to the next, or you're just trying to improve the fundraising capacity of your organization, then this particular masterclass may be the right fit for you. So if you want to submit your application and join our next cohort, then go to nonprofitfundingstrategies.com. Again, that's nonprofitfundingstrategies.com. For all others who want to just get on my calendar and chat a little bit about your nonprofit organization, we offer free consultations. So you can simply go to DrWilliamPClark.com to schedule your free consultation. Again, that's DrWilliamPClark.com for your free consultation. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this particular episode, and we'll see you guys next time. See you, everybody.